Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Nadella. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And sadly, Caleb is not here.
Wah, wah,
He,
wah. Oh, wait.
He got a little sick. Oh. Yes. He wasn't feeling too well. So he decided to skip out. I understand. I mean, I wasn't feeling very well either, but I decided, you know what? It'll be good for the show if I just get myself up on some medicine and we'll make this happen.
Yes, Loopy Wes is the best Wes.
Sometimes. I don't know. You're the one that's editing this podcast.
That's fair. That's fair.
I might forget to mute some of my coughs or whatnot. Anyway, hey, we apologize for not being here last week. That was mainly my fault. I kind of had the news, but then work was like, hey, we need you to come in. So, yeah. I mean, apparently everybody needs some food. Work for a food manufacturing plant. So yes. I think it happens. But hey, let's go ahead and let's talk about all things tech this week, shall we, Landon?
Oh, yeah.
I believe you got a few things you want to talk about, maybe through Samsung?
I do. Samsung had their first Unpacked event of the year because they can't change the name of their events. They all have to be unpacked. I still don't fully understand that. I mean, it's weird to me. Just change the name.
I mean, they got a name. They got a name, I guess. I mean, it could be worse.
Oh, it definitely could be worse. It's not a bad name. It's just it's the same name for every event. It's Unpacked 2022 or 20. Oh wait, this is 23. Sorry, 2023. Which Unpacked? The one in April. What does that mean? Probably a laptop. Oh wait, no, I don't want a laptop. Where's the phones? Oh, they're in February. Wait, what about the ones in August? Oh yeah, those are phones too. Sorry, freaking Samsung.
I guess, yeah, maybe a better, I don't know, like Unpacked phones, and then the next one could be Unpacked processing or Unpacked. Maybe a better. I don't know.
They need something.
But hey, we don't work in tech, do we?
Nope.
We're not geniuses like them.
We come up with better names, so that's why we don't work in tech.
That's why. Is that on the application? Hey, we need you to come up with a good name. Oh, sorry, we can't hire you. You actually came up with a really good name.
Yeah, that was. I mean, if you want to get a job with Sony and that question is on there, just put a whole bunch of numbers and letters and you'll get a job. Because that's all they name their
Agreed.
stuff is, I mean, their headphones were what, the XM-F2? I don't know. They're stupid. Anyways, we're talking Samsung, and we're talking Galaxy S23. That is the phones that were announced. There were three of them, the S23, the S23 Plus, and the S23 Ultra, just like last year. And also, just like last year, they're basically the S22, the S22 Plus, and S22 Ultra. Ooh. I mean, I'm going to come out and say this right now. I am actually okay with this. It's kind of a similar upgrade style going from the iPhone 12 to the iPhone 13. There's not much different, but that's okay because the differences here are what people care about, being the camera is better, the battery is better, and the screen is going to be better. So the things that most people care about with a phone is getting upgrades. And nowadays, phones are good enough where they can last easily, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the person. And especially like with Samsung or Google or iPhone, they get updates for that amount of time as well. So, I mean, keeping a phone for a long time is not unheard of nowadays. It's we're kind of past the time of upgrading every 2 years, or definitely not every year for most people, but even every 2 years for a lot of people, it's like, I'm still okay with this phone. So I'm fine with the minor updates on these phones. It is what it is. Some people can be upset. That's not me. So
yeah, I think that's more for the really like elite that want that every year. And I get that. I mean, as someone that likes to have the best graphics card or best latest greatest on PC stuff, I guess, or Xbox. I'm kind of that way, but
Right.
every year.
All right, let's go through some specs here. Let's start with the Galaxy S23. This is the lower end model. It's all, well, let's talk about what's the same on some of these devices. So first off, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is in all three of these devices. So that's a good thing.
Oh.
And that's almost where all the similarities end. So
Okay.
let's start again. Let's go to the S23, low end. RAM and storage wise, this has 8 gigs of RAM is the only option you can get, and you can get 128 gigs or 256 gigs of storage. The display is a 6.1 inch AMOLED display with 120 hertz adaptive refresh rate, 425 pixels per inch, and a 1750 nit peak brightness, which is pretty bright. So that's kind of nice. All three phones are launching with Android 13 because that would make sense. If it didn't, I'd be worried. This phone has a 3900 milliamp hour battery with 25 watt fast charging or 15 watt wireless charging. The cameras on this thing, it has a 50 megapixel primary sensor, a dual pixel autofocus sensor, or that one has dual pixel autofocus, sorry. And then it's got a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and then a 3x optical zoom sensor, and up to 30 times space zoom is what they're saying on that one. Mm-hmm. Which don't use that for pictures because it's not going to be good. And then on the front, it has a 12 megapixel sensor. This one and the S23 Plus do not have the S Pen. The Ultra is the Note replacement again. Does have the S Pen. The S23 comes in Phantom Black, Cream, Green, Lavender, Lime, or Graphite. And it starts at $800. So not horribly priced for the phone. Pretty decent phone. Now the Galaxy S23 Plus, again, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, 8 gigs of RAM is the only option on this one as well. But the base model starts at 256 gigs of storage, and there's an option for 512 gigs of storage. So that's kind of nice. This one has a 6.6 inch display, so it's half an inch bigger, but everything else is basically the same. 120 hertz adaptive refresh rate, and then that 1750 nit peak brightness. This one, being a bigger phone, has a 4700 milliamp hour battery, but this one has 45 watt fast charging wired, and then again 15 watt wireless charging. So this is going to have, like it says, the better wired charging on this one, but the wireless is still the same. But the wired charge, if you really need it to be fast, I mean, obviously any phone right now, if you want to charge it quickly, you got to plug it in. You don't just wirelessly charge that. This one has the same cameras. Again, the 50 megapixel primary, the 12 megapixel ultra wide, and 10 megapixel 3 times optical zoom sensor. And then the same front camera. And this one comes in the same colors as the other one. And this one starts at $1,000. So it's a $200 jump from the S23 to the S23 Plus. And then the S23 Ultra, the base model on this one is 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. But then this is where it really changes. You can get 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage, or 12 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. Who needs a terabyte of storage on their phone? I don't know, but it's there.
People that take lots of videos.
People that take like 4K video. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyways, the screen on this one is also a little bit bigger than the previous one. It's 6.8 inches. This is a quad HD display. 120 hertz adaptive refresh rate, 500 pixels per inch, and the same 1750 nit peak brightness. So it's a little bit better display on this one, a little bit bigger. And also with that size comes a bigger battery, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 45 watt fast charging, and 15 watt wireless charging. And then the cameras is where the big change is on this one. It's got a 200 megapixel primary sensor, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel 3x optical zoom, and then another 10 megapixel 10x optical zoom with up to 100x space zoom on that. Again, don't use that for photos, but it's there. So this one has an additional camera that is just a closer 10x zoom camera, basically. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then it's got the same 12 megapixel front facing camera. And then this one has the S Pen as well. And it comes in Phantom Black, cream, green, lavender, lime, and graphite like the other ones, but also in sky blue or red. And this one starts at $12.99. So another $200, or no, $11.99. So $1,200. So another $200 jump. So I don't remember if the S22 series had the same $200 gap between all three phones. I don't love that. I'd rather have the $100 gap between the phones, like most companies do, but it is what it is. I mean, these aren't unfortunately for flagships nowadays, these are not bad starting prices at $800, $1,000, and $1,200, but still a lot of money. And all of these phones are available for pre-order, and you can pick them up in stores on the 17th of February.
Yeah. I was looking through following along here, and I didn't realize this, but it's an ingenious idea with your S Pen. You can now use your S Pen with the camera. So if you have it mounted, your phone mounted on something, just take your S Pen, you click your S Pen, it'll take a picture.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, and they've done that. I think they started that with one of the Note phones. I don't remember which one. But last year's S22 Ultra, you could do that. And then, yeah, on this one, you can also do that. And that is a really cool feature.
I just thought it was cool. I was following through. I'm like, that's nifty. Didn't know that.
I mean, I've used something similar to that because, like, on my Pixel phone with a watch, like a smartwatch, I could use my watch as a remote camera trigger, basically. Ooh. And I've done that in the past. I haven't done it with my iPhone, but I know I can do it. But I do like the option of using the S Pen for that as well, because you can kind of hide it in your hand or behind your back or something. Just click the button, it'll take a picture. Kind of cool.
It is cool.
But yeah, like I said, these phones it's a very minor update from last year's phones. The design is very similar. What I have seen, though, at least with the Ultra, the design is a little less rounded on the corners, so it's a little more boxy. It still has a little bit of a rounded edge on it, but it's not quite as pronounced as last year's model. So that's a little different. The cameras are bigger this year because, I mean, they're better cameras. The sensors themselves are a little bit bigger. So that's a little bit different than last year. But overall, it's a very similar look to what you've seen with the previous, like especially last year's model. So if you like that look, then you're going to like these ones. It's just, these are just updated specs, nothing crazy, but just, a little bit of a spec bump to make it a little nicer. Like I said, I think the upgrades come in the key features, where the battery and the camera and the display. And that's where most people want to have the best things. And obviously the newer chip in the phone, because if you didn't come out with a new chip in the new phone, Apple, then you're doing it wrong. But Samsung didn't go the way of Apple and do that because they're smart and they know what they're doing. Apple is stupid and being dumb this year. Anyways, we're not talking Apple. So that is the Galaxy S23, S23 Plus, and S23 Ultra. Overall, I think they're good phones. I mean, I will buy one because I personally am not a huge fan of Samsung's user interface, but their hardware is really good. If you are in the Samsung boat, which if you're on Android, you most likely are, because they sell the bulk of Android phones out there.
Yeah.
Most people I know that have an Android phone have a Galaxy device, and I look at them like, why? Why? Buy a Pixel. Come on. But these are good phones. So there you go. That's all of the stuff for the Galaxy S23.
Yeah, they look pretty good. I mean, I was kind of looking through the colors. I'm not gonna lie, that lavender looks pretty dope.
I do like it. It's like it's not like as dark of a lavender as you might expect. It's kind of it's more of like a, I don't know how to really. It's like a lavender, like a pink lavender, not like a purple lavender.
Yeah. It actually looks pretty good. I usually get darker phones anyway. I've always but I was like, wow, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm usually, well, I say that, but I also have the sky blue iPhone 13 Pro. So,
Yeah.
And my first the iPhone 12 that I bought was that blue color that came out with it as well. So, I'm a sucker for blue phones, but I usually do go the darker route. I like black phones.
Yeah. Usually I try to go with that blacker. I mean, sometimes I might go a little lighter for like charcoal or something. But
yeah. But at the same time, I also put a case on my phone. So most of the time the color is kind of hidden. I do right now have a case with a clear back on it. So you can see the color. But most of the time, like the case that I first bought for this phone is just plain black. So the only place you can see any color is around the cameras, which, I mean, okay, but
right,
that's me.
No.
But if you are the type of person that does not go with a case, then color matters more to you. And Samsung is giving you a variety of colors to pick from, which is nice.
Good.
So, but that is all of my news for this week. Just Samsung stuff. All the phones. Gotcha. Good phones. I'm sure, like, up until February 17th, listener, you can pre-order the device, and there are going to be deals on that. I know Samsung does really good when it comes to trade-ins, especially if you're coming from a previous Samsung phone or an iPhone. They give you a decent amount of money to trade in. Also, carriers usually have decent trade-in values for these type of phones. So if you are in the market, look at some deals. If you can get it on pre-sale or if you can pre-order it, then do that. If not, you can just wait till February 17th. I'm sure a lot of deals will still be happening, especially carrier deals will go past that as well. So there you go. There's going to be some decent price. If you're paying full price for these phones, that's on you, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I've kept my last couple phones, so I've paid full price just because.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why I do it. But I was just looking on a couple carriers real fast as we were going through. Some of them are saying save up to like $8 or trade in values like up to $800. So
yeah,
not bad.
Yeah,
wouldn't be too bad to take a look.
Yeah, and also if you don't care about having the latest and greatest, say you're coming from like an S20 or something like that, and you just want to get something newer, getting an S22 like at a discounted price would not be a bad deal because, like I said, this isn't a huge upgrade from that. But, I mean, you're not going to have the latest chip on the phone. You're not going to have the latest cameras. But those cameras are still really good. And that processor in that phone is still really good as well. And you're going to be getting software updates for a few more years on that device as well. So if you don't want to spend this much money on a new phone, you want to save a little money, maybe go for an S22 or maybe find a used one that someone's trying to sell. There are those out there, or get a refurbished one or something, and you're still going to get a really good deal on that device as well. So
yeah, it's not wrong. So pretty good deals for that all around. All right, well, go ahead. Got to mention a few things on Microsoft's side here. Well, Windows 11 is still adding features.
Adding features that should have been there at launch.
Yes. I was telling Landon, I was like, man, I just wish I was more excited about Windows 11, and and maybe it's just because I don't get it on my PC, just not the newest, latest, greatest, so and I can't mess and tinker, and so, but when I read when I do reading on it and whatnot, I'm always like, oh, this seems like a feature that should have happened, but it's always like they've got so many different what do they call them, rings of beta users of insiders, and so you just don't you don't know what you're testing and messing, and if you're an insider going for this stuff, and so it's just crazy. But
I do find that system really weird because most companies, they have a beta program and they have regular users.
yeah,
But Microsoft has their regular users and then like 3 or 4 different
betas
type
and
things, and then
alphas
it's like just pick one, a beta
yeah,
or not beta, ready to go.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more it hurts my brain. So I don't want to think about it anymore. So, but
It's understandable.
Windows 11, that's still going. It's getting a lot of features, and if you're using Windows 11 and you're liking what with all the features, sweet, more's coming, and if you're in that happens. But little mention here, lawsuits, obviously, that are happening. We already talked about the Activision Blizzard and Microsoft acquisition, talking about how maybe FTC maybe bringing a lawsuit, maybe not there, but one that I wanted to actually reiterate on was actually the one that was brought up by Slack back in the day. It was like 2020. I can't remember what day, but we had talked about this, that Slack wanted to say there was an antitrust with Teams because they were bundling it in with their Office 365. I think it was like Microsoft 365 or it was Office 365 before, now Microsoft 365, and they were getting mad saying that that's anti-competitive. Well, the EU is looking to take on that lawsuit. So,
I do kind of understand this because there are a lot of businesses that use Microsoft they use Windows 3 or Microsoft 3. What is it called now? Whatever.
It
Office
is
suite.
Microsoft 365.
Whatever they
just
call
say
it
Microsoft
these days.
365.
Whatever they call it, there are a lot of businesses that use those products, and they also want to use some sort of team communication product, which Slack is a really good one. Like, we use that for the podcast. But Teams is also because people are using Microsoft 365 and they want to use something like that. So, like, well, instead of paying for both products, we'll just use Microsoft's built-in one. So I do get it from Slack because they don't have, that's all they are. They're just a communication type product. They're not an Office suite. They don't have that type of thing to bundle together. So I understand Slack's thing here. And I mean, it would be really easy for Microsoft to just be like, well, okay, we'll step back. If you want Teams, maybe charge $1 more a month. People still might do it because it's going to be cheaper than if you do the paid version of Slack. Or if you want the free version of Teams, you can still use that. It wouldn't be hard for Microsoft to just be like, okay, we'll unbundle this, and then they won't get sued or fined or any other stupid thing that's going to happen, because it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time at this point.
Yeah. I think, I mean, just like what they're doing with the FTCs and all this other stuff, I think they'll just be like, oh, what do you have in mind? Like, they wait till someone says something, which is probably smart on their end. Like, oh, we'll stop this. It's more of, what do you feel we need to do? And then go from there. So,
yeah,
I just figured I'd bring it up because, I mean, let's be real. It's a pretty hot topic right now in any kind of thing going on in the world. I mean, so you're going to hear about the Activision Blizzard, but you're going to hear these other lawsuits and stuff. So,
what would be interesting, and I could see happening really quick. Well, maybe not really quickly, but if Microsoft were to somehow, and maybe this can be done, but if you were to be able to use Teams instead of like Discord when it comes to gaming, like if they were to throw Teams into Xbox somehow, then I could see Discord also coming out there and be like, hey now, come on.
It's true.
But at the same time, Discord already has a huge chunk of that market that it may not take a big hit from Discord, at least not yet. It would take a while before Teams would.
I don't think Microsoft,
people, but
I think Microsoft, if they were to do that, they would offer it but they wouldn't be like, okay, you can't have Discord on the Xbox anymore. I think they would just be like, here's an option too, just like they do with Discord. Like on the Xbox, I can now just directly connect to Discord,
Right.
and talk. And I think they'd probably do something similar, because with all the, I don't know, I'd hate for them to piss off Discord now after they've been working. So, you know what I mean? So it'd be kind of silly. But
Well, I'm not saying that they would kick off, like you wouldn't be able to use Discord, because you can use
Right.
Slack as well on a Windows machine. Doesn't matter. But you have to, it's just a separate thing that you have to pay for. It's not included with their other product.
Yeah.
But if Teams were just included on Xbox, and that's their default chat service on Xbox, that's when, like, even though, yes, you can use Discord, but look at here. This is the default.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
if you want to chat with someone, here's Teams. There you go.
I get that. Yeah, we'll see what comes up from it. Like, let's be real. The only reason we're using Slack is because both of you refused to try Teams.
I didn't
Be real.
refuse. I just didn't want to.
But I mean, let's be real. I don't use it either, so I can't be all. It's funny. The person that actually has used it is Caleb.
Yeah,
He's the one that refuses. So
because he hated
Well,
it so much.
so yeah. But anyway, so that's what's happening for any more lawsuits or any other thing like that. So okay, let's go ahead and move on. We're gonna actually move on over to some gaming, because that's kind of where a lot of the big news things were happening. So last week, what I was going to report on was actually, which you probably already have heard, listener, was the direct, developer direct that Xbox did, which was Bethesda games, or Bethesda ZeniMax games that came out. So the big ones that they talked about. We'll just go over. They did Redfall. They talked about that, did some gameplay footage. A lot of people really enjoyed it. If you want to see more, go check that out. They did give dates that when these are coming out. Redfall was coming out in May. They did talk about Forza Motorsport. This one is the not arcadey racer. This is like the real, like, deep down car lover. This is that type of racer. That one, they didn't give a date for that one on there. They did actually shadow drop a game called Hi-Fi Rush from Tango Games, and you can actually play it now, and it's getting great reviews. People are really liking it. It's kind of a beat, so it's really interesting. I think this is something Landed probably. I don't think you'd play it, but you'd be interested. Like, oh, that's actually really cool. So the entire world, and it's like an action play. So think of I'm trying to think of a game Landon would be in this. Do you ever play like Devil May Cry or seen Devil May Cry?
No.
God of War.
No.
Over the shoulder hack and slash, like your camera's behind the person and they're just hacking and slashing.
Okay.
Any kind of game like that. What it is the whole world is music and a part of the beat, and the beat is always going, and you're watching the beat. But what's also cool is mobs attack, and you can attack with the beat and everything. And so they've got all sorts of songs, like Nine Inch Nails, Black Keys, and a bunch of songs that go to different areas. But the whole like world. So if you ever lose the beat, the enemies are always bobbing to the beat on certain songs and stuff. And so what it is, it's kind of a hack and slash. But if you can actually hack and slash and parry and dodge to the beat, you actually get more points and more damage and things. And so it's kind of a fun little. Just a fun little game. Yeah, it's called Hi-Fi Rush. And a lot of people are actually raving about it. They're pretty good. I haven't played it yet, but a lot of people, like I said, it's one of those ones that everyone's just like, wow, this is really good. Like one of those silent hits. So Hi-Fi Rush, if you have it Game Pass, you can get it there, or you can buy it on, it is a Microsoft exclusive as of right now. So I don't know if it's on Steam. I'd have to double check on that, but take a look at that. Let's see. They got that, and let's see. We talked about Redfall, talked about Motorsport and the Hi-Fi Rush, and they also did talk about Elder Scrolls Online, that they announced their new expansion that's coming out. That's going to be later this year. And so if you're into Elder Scrolls Online and like that, sweet. Everyone's excited. The big thing that a lot of people were saying, that they were like, hey, if you have Xbox Game Pass, we're going to go ahead and let you play with your Game Pass all the previous DLCs. So if you just want to hop in and just play, Sweet. You can hop in and play, which is really cool. I think
Yeah.
if you want to just play with friends and get in that and actually be like, oh, I can just go ahead and buy this one. So really, really good developer direct. I thought it was really good pacing myself. Like there wasn't like a host and the host talked to, oh, how do you feel about this? Nope. They just got right in, showed gameplay and gave the release dates. Oh, and Minecraft Legends. I apologize. I was about to forget that one. That Minecraft Legends, the new type of game. So I don't know what to call this, but it's an open world PvP/PvE. It's interesting. It's you'd have to take a look at it. So you pick your hero, and then you're basically building your base, and you want to go take out the other person's base or attack the piglings that are coming up from the nether that are coming through to and try to take you over. So kind of a nice little defense thing there, but it's really interesting. Minecraft Legends, that one's coming out too in April. So
Nice.
okay. Also, something that wasn't a part of the direct that actually came out before was a little game that everyone was really excited for back in the day on the N64, Goldeneye 007.
Yes.
So it released both on the Nintendo Switch as well as Xbox. So quick summary of each one. So on the Nintendo Switch, if you have the Xbox, if you have the Nintendo Online with the expansion pass, which includes all the N64 games, this will be in there. Just so you know, and I've looked this up, Nintendo wanted to make it as authentic as possible. So if you remember the joystick, the one joystick on the N64, that's what they tried to have it on there. So you can change those settings to where you have the two sticks and whatnot. I would suggest looking up a YouTube video to do this because it's not as easy as just flipping yes or no or changing. You have a couple settings you need to change to make it feel like a more modern shooter, if you will. Looks really good. Runs at 720p. It's really fun. You have everything in there. The multiplayer is in there. The thing with the Nintendo Switch version, and the way the Nintendo Switch multiplayer runs on these types of games for their old back catalogs, is the first Nintendo Switch person hosts, and then you invite the second or third or fourth person in, and it's kind of like they're watching what you're doing, and then they'll take control of whatever player 2, player 3, or player 4, whatever they're on. And so that's how it runs. So basically, you're running a split screen, but you can see everybody's split screen, but everyone has each character. So you can do that. And then you can do that online as well as local for all up to 4 players, which is a lot of fun. So that's the version for the Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about Game Pass version, the Xbox version. So this one actually is up to 4K. It's rendered up to 4K, has a different emulator on it, and is the widescreen. So you actually can see more. Runs a little better on there for resolution, things like that.
Nice.
Which is nice. I've actually downloaded this, and I'm not gonna lie, it's so fun to play. So fun to play.
This game alone makes me want to buy something to play it on because I loved that game. It was so
Landon,
much fun.
It's on xCloud. You can play it on your phone, just so you know.
Wait.
Anyway, xCloud.
How do
Game Pass.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk after.
Yeah, I was wondering if this is the one that would get you. Okay, so let me go back. So there's 3 ways to get this. So the first way, obviously, is you can buy it through the store. And I thought I wrote down the price. I apologize, I didn't write down the price. You can get it on there. Just through the store, the Microsoft Store. You can get it through there. The second way is if you are a Game Pass subscriber, then you get it through Game Pass, and you can download it that way. Third is if you bought, back in the day on the last gen, what was called Rare Replay, and it was all of Rare's titles for the past, I believe it was 30 years. You get all their titles they ever made. Well, this was the one that wasn't ever there. So to honor it, if you bought that rare replay digitally, you automatically get this because they added it to the rare replay collection. So I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about everything else. So what to expect on this version. So like I was saying before, 4K on there. Updated graphics, kind of renders a little better, obviously. Let's see, on here also. But the thing is this does not support online play. Meaning, so there is a backdoor way to do this, and I'll kind of explain that. So there isn't like a hop on multiplayer, then connect with my friend, and then we play. That's not how it works. Basically, it's only local co-op or play. So if you have 4 controllers and you're playing on the same Xbox, then you can do it that way. There is a backdoor to this if you really want to, is you can set up to where you have one of your controllers be a share to friend or share to online, and then that person can connect with their Xbox this way. It's a feature that a lot of streamers sometimes will use, is you can share your controller to somebody and they can start playing your game. Kind of a same idea, but kind of a long way to do that.
Interesting workaround.
Yeah, it is interesting. So it is out. It's already come out and lots of people have been enjoying it. It really is fun. And if you played this, that nostalgia bone just, I mean, I got like, I hop on and I do one of the missions sometimes. I'm like, I'm going to do this real fast. I'll do this on Agent. I can do it real fast. And the sounds, everything. So if you were wanting to do this is, and especially if you have Game Pass or if you got that rare replay, or even if you're online with Nintendo, you got Nintendo Switch with the expansion pass there. It's a good one. It's a good one to go back and have fun with. So it came out on January 27th. So it's really good. And if you just want to try it and get like a 2-week code from a friend or for a Game Pass Ultimate, hey, there you go.
Yeah, you could probably beat the game in that time. Pretty easy.
You really could. You really could. So that's good news. I wanted to share that because that is awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is a game that was released before, is now released on the console, Age of Empires 2. And I will have you know, I was so skeptical of this. I downloaded it and I'm like, I have to try this with a controller because an RTS on a console, like I think right now I'm giving Spenlove a headache just talking about this without him here. Like, absolutely. How would you do? Like, I can feel that pain in his head. Just,
I can sense Caleb just twitching right now, just because he doesn't know we're talking about it, but he knows.
Oh, he's sitting there going like, right. Something is wrong in the Force today. Like, he is full on. Okay, so I have to give it to Microsoft and the team that did this port. They did the controller so smart, like to where I don't mind playing Age of Empires, an RTS with a controller. Like you know how there's some games you're just like, oh, this is okay, but I'm gonna stick with the way I play, like mouse keyboard. I was pretty shocked. I was like, wow, I actually played a few games of this on the controller, and it's like, wow. It's not one that I'm going to totally like, okay, I got to do the hardest AI on 8 of them and I'm going to take this on, but
right.
I thought it was pretty fun. And I actually had a brother of mine play on his PC and I played on the Xbox, and we were just messing, just kind of, and it was just interesting how they made it easy back and forth. It kind of made me excited for more RTS type stuff to come to Xbox. I'm like, wow, it was really smart how they did it. So it's really hard for me to explain if you don't know some of the lingo that I talk about with it. So I'll try not to, but I would suggest if you want to see a video or something on it, might check it out if you're interested. Just to try it. Why not?
I think you need to try and make Caleb play this on Xbox.
Oh, dude, like this. Okay, Patreon right there.
Like, just show up to his house, Xbox in hand.
Oh my gosh! Look, I would pay $5 to our Patreon just for him to do it. Oh, because I don't know. I think I was pleasantly surprised. Like I said, it was some games I'm like, okay, this was an okay port. Like PC, I could definitely see this would run a lot better, it'd feel better. But with what they did, I was like, wow, this feels pretty good. So pretty good. Okay, let's move on a little bit here. We're going to go ahead and talk about, I guess, the big news. I don't know. Some people say this is huge news, but they say that Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo are not going to be at E3. A lot of people
That's
are
not
talking
new.
about this. And I was just like, well, they never were.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not a new thing. They always have events
So-
like next door to E3 or, but they're never at E3.
right.
So
So
what's the big deal?
I don't know. I think it's one of those slow things to talk about, and people are just trying to talk to get clicks.
I guess.
So
I mean, if people that actually follow the industry, I mean, I know this.
that's
and-
true. No, you do. I
Like,
mean, you got to one up. You talk to other people that are in talking gaming, so
yeah.
I don't know.
But I
don't
mean,
know. But yeah,
people that follow gaming blogs that are going to be talking about this know that these companies aren't at E3 in general. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
but it's out there. But I figured to let you know that they never have, but they've done things around the same dates. So, I mean, I would expect something around the
Maybe
date,
this
so.
year they're not going to do those events. Who knows? I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. Maybe, but
Maybe.
that would
I
be
don't know.
stupid. But
But yeah. Okay, let's move on. One thing that was interesting, Microsoft actually talked about, they talked about and are saying that they are going to raise the price of its Xbox in Japan.
interesting.
That's the only place that they're going to raise it. Thought that was interesting. So when I was looking it up here, they said that the price is going to go up around like $38 to $42. So between the Series S and Series X in Japan. So I don't know if that's going to affect it much. I know Japan's probably. So I've heard mixed things. I've heard that Xbox is doing better in Japan, but I've also heard they're not really have a presence in Japan. They're getting better, but so I don't
Interesting.
know.
I know what'll
You
make
know.
them buy it more. Let's make it more expensive.
Yes, make it this will work. Make it premium. But I mean, Sony did the same thing everywhere except the U.S. So I don't know. So I just figured that is something I want to talk about because hardware increasing prices sucks all around for anybody, even though it's only Japan. So
Especially on a product that's been out for 4 years at this point.
holy cow!
Is that right? 3 or 4? It's been
No,
a while.
I think we're in the third year.
Yeah, either way, still a price increase on a 3-year-old product. It's not usually what you want or expect.
No. All right. Talk about more gaming. I know Halo is Studio 343 that's always been kind of in this news cycle. The big thing that they're talking about now is they're just going to reboot Halo in the Unreal Engine. So, kind of, I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, I didn't mind Halo Infinite, but I didn't play a lot of multiplayer, and I think that's where a lot of people were having issues was the multiplayer. And so, but the engine they call it the Slip Space engine, is the one they were using for Infinite. So I don't know if this means that Infinite is done and they're just going to move on to soft reboot. But then they did say Infinite was a soft reboot.
Yeah.
So a soft reboot of a soft, I don't know. So that's in the news. So I'm just reporting it from what I understand.
I think it just
Okay.
goes back to these companies aren't doing anything major until something gets settled with this acquisition.
Gosh, and I think, okay, I'm going to say this, and I think I've said it before. Like, this acquisition, for good or worse, but I think there's so much bad that's been happening because of so much stalling. I think innovation is just dying.
Yeah.
Like, okay, no, it's not dying. That's not good to say.
It's being
It's
withheld.
slowed. It is from everybody, not just Microsoft, not just
Yeah.
Activision. But I think everyone else is just like, hold the phone. We need to see what this does. Like,
Yeah.
and it sucks because like it seemed like for gaming stuff was just increasing so fast. Like,
Yeah.
this is happening, these features, this and this and this, and then all of a sudden, the Activision thing happened, and it was just like,
You know what's going to
Everything-
happen is all these companies have still been working on everything behind the scenes. I mean, obviously, that's, if they
Yeah,
stopped,
yeah.
they're just dumb. But
yeah, that's true.
once this thing gets settled, whether it's Microsoft can do it or can't do it, whatever happens,
Yeah.
there's going to be like 2 months of just week after week, this announcement. It's like,
Yeah.
there's going to be so much gaming news in that time, like 2 or 3 month
Seriously.
span after whatever happens. We're just going to be like,
and-
oh my gosh, call me.
I think you're right, and it probably won't be Microsoft and Activision. It's going to be everyone else.
Oh yeah, it's going to be everyone else announcing stuff because they
Yes.
didn't want to announce whatever was potentially could cause this Activision Blizzard thing to happen because they have their own competitive, like Sony's
Right.
stuff isn't coming out because of this or whatnot. It's like
Right.
all the stuff that has anything to do with this potentially happening or not happening will come out right after whatever ruling happens with this, and it's just going to be bombardment
there's
of
gonna be so
stuff.
much. So much. Jeez. Well, let's move on. One thing, let people know, those of you still on the Xbox 360, Microsoft is delisting over 40 games from its marketplace. So if you want to check out those 40 games, you can definitely hop onto the blog there and you can check them out. And it goes from anywhere from like Assassin's Creed, goes to Left 4 Dead, Limbo, South Park: The Stick of Truth, Star Wars Battlefront, KOTOR, the Orange Box, things like that. But this is only the Xbox 360. So that's 2 generations ago
Yeah.
that they're finally delisting this. So, I mean, this isn't uncommon because obviously Microsoft has to pay. Both companies' sides have to pay money, but if they're not seeing much coming from this, then obviously they're going to break the deal. Like, this isn't a bad thing for Microsoft. It's not a bad thing for that, but they're just no longer going to sell it. So if you already have it, you have it, but they're just no longer going to sell these things. So there's actually 40 of them. You want to check, go through, take a look. If for some reason you were holding off on Left 4 Dead and finally, I don't know, pull the trigger. But yeah, so I know lots of people are kind of not overwhelmed or saying this is a bad thing or whatnot, but I mean, if they're not making money on a platform, why spend money to put it there?
Yeah.
So I don't know. And plus, I don't know all the deals. We don't know. This is us just kind of speculating. So, but yeah, there's a support page on it, and they said that they're going to be removing it. And actually, the date is by February 7th. So we're recording this on February 5th. So depending on when this comes out,
Sorry.
just realize that.
Sorry if
I
you
apologize.
didn't hear this in time.
Yes, I apologize. Just saw the date. So, anywho, so that's pretty much all the gaming news. Want to talk about other, like I said, we kind of touched on the biggest news and little bits here and there, but that's everything's kind of waiting. I do feel that the trickle of everything. I mean, we just had the Xbox Developer Direct that had a bunch of games. They did talk about that they're going to do a whole presentation for Starfield, and they want to do these directs more throughout the year. So I don't know what that means, if every 2 months, every month, or every 3 months we're going to get these directs, which cool. I mean, they're buying so many studios that you can't just have them all in one 4-hour block.
Yeah.
So this seems like that it'll be good because then they can touch base on all the games that are coming. And so far, things are doing pretty good. So stay tuned.
Yeah. As long as they don't do what Samsung does with Unpacked, where it's just Unpacked or it's just Microsoft Direct. It's got to be Microsoft Direct this studio, Microsoft Direct this. They need to separate the names so we know what's going to happen.
Well, they said this one was the Developer Direct, and they didn't really say. I mean, they said Xbox and Bethesda presents Developer Direct. So I don't know if that'll be Xbox Studios presents or whatever. So we'll see kind of what happens. I mean, it was a good format. It was great. It was quick, but yet I felt like I got a lot of information, but without the bloat. So, which was good. So, and that's pretty much all the news that I have this week. Landon, you have one more thing for us?
No, not this week. Sorry.
It's all right. Every once in a while, you got like, there's that one time you had like 2 to 3. So I was like, wow, geez.
Every now and then I have a good week, but this isn't one of them. At least not in the gaming department.
You know, you'd be proud. I've showed my kids Alto's Adventure.
Nice. It's a great game.
And they are so addicted to that game.
It's so much fun.
It is. It actually is more reinvigorating to me to play it now than my kids, because I stopped playing it a long time ago. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this. Here, you guys play this. And they're like, Dad, I want to play it. Okay. So, Alto's Adventure. That's a mobile game suggestion for you. Is it on iOS?
Yeah. It's actually, they have a version of it. You have to pay for it for the regular game. But they have a version in Apple Arcade, and it's slightly different from like the regular iOS version, from what I understand, but it's the same game pretty much. But
gotcha.
But yeah.
Well, hey, there you go. We'll do a mobile pick there for this week for you.
There you go.
Alto's Adventure. All right. Well, dear listener, appreciate you listening to our short episode this week. We didn't have Caleb here. He was playing hooky, having fun, doing something.
I don't think
he'd
be having
listens.
too much fun, but
I hope he listens and lets us know if he did have an aneurysm about Age of Empires. I'm really curious about that. Well, if you want to get a hold of us, you can. If you want to tell us that, hey, what about this, or have us talk about something, you can on our social media, on the platforms there. You can also get a hold of us on callingallplatforms.com. If you want to, you could also show us some support on Patreon. You can find us there. Landon, he puts up with, it was only half. It was only me today, but, I can't wait for you to edit all the sniffles and coughs that I forgot to mute out there for you, buddy. But if you want to support Landon, because, he deals with us crazy you can throw him a couple bucks there. And hey, if you put on Patreon, you request that Caleb plays games with a controller, I think that we can make this happen. I'm just throwing it out there. And yes. I think that would be a good one.
I think what would be a good one is all these games that you guys play together, you swap roles. So Caleb plays on the console and you play on PC, the games that you generally play on console.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that would be a great.
And then stream it. I think we could stream it and then make a VOD, put it up on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
Just saying, dear listener, if you want some fun stuff, we can really make it happen. And then we could get a good game going of Goldeneye with all three of us.
Yes.
Just saying. That would be fun. Just to see what how you're feeling. But anyway. All right, listener. Have a good week.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.